What's going on, Wolfpack Nation? Hope everybody's doing well today. Thank you all so much for tuning in again here this Sunday evening. Here it's again just to really just talk about again a big win, obviously over Louisiana Tech. I know obviously it wasn't the prettiest win by any means, but hey, we're 4-1 heading into the bye week, and I think any state fan, if you got told, hey, we're gonna we have the chance to go 4-1 with a win over Clemson, I think any state fan would take that any day and twice on Tuesday. So again, so as we kind of said, so today my partners, Mike and Michael, actually aren't able to be here today. So we actually asked the two man Wolfpack podcast crew, Bobby Black and Anderson Brewer, to join us today. Bobby's here with us. Anderson should be joining us here shortly. He's having internet issues, but he will be here with us. But Bobby, good to have you on, my friend.
Awesome. Yeah, I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having us on.
Absolutely.
Yeah, hopefully Anderson can get all that stuff squared away, and he'll be hopping on here momentarily.
No worries, no worries. It's no big deal. But so in the meantime, I mean, obviously talking a little bit here about this win, obviously, again, the first thing that jumps out to me, and actually jumped out to me during the whole game, was how, I mean, that was a solid Louisiana Tech team by any stretch of the measure. I think that honestly they could jump right into the ACC this year and be right in the middle, at least in the ACC. Beat most teams, I would say. I mean, just obviously headlined obviously by Austin Kendall, their starting quarterback, who was actually a transfer from West Virginia, and actually we actually saw him when we played West Virginia back in 2019. And again, that guy is just so elusive. He's so quick. He's so keeps I guess a good head on his shoulders to stay calm, stay poised, and try and make a play. And I think that he got a lot of the better of us yesterday for sure. So I mean, for us to pull out a win was great. And at the end of the day, great teams find ways to win. And in the day, we found a way to win. That's all that matters. At the end of the day, we found a way to win. So because it could have easily been a trap game, easily been a hangover game, and we found a way to get out of it. So hats off to the team.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's always in the back of state fans' heads. Just because the history we have of doing that. And Louisiana Tech, they're a better football team than their name implies. A lot of people see, oh, Louisiana Tech's, it's Louisiana Tech. They should have beaten Mississippi State, who we know the outcome when we went down there. Another thing that worried me heading into this game was you mentioned Austin Kendall when he was at West Virginia. He'd already kicked their hind end one time when he started
Mm-hmm.
against us up in Morgantown. So that just
Mm-hmm.
naturally that was worrying me a little bit. I was interested in seeing our defense play against a quarterback that really had the possibility to be dual threat and that could run on us a little bit too.
Yep. Yeah. No. And again, I mean, because we're going to see that with guys like Malik Cunningham. We're probably going to see De'Ara King by then, but I mean, we'll talk a little bit about that, the Miami situation right now, but it's not a pretty one. But again, the fact that for the most part, you look at games like Louisiana Tech, you look at Clemson. Again, those are two solid teams. Again, I mean, hey, then they Clemson beat Boston College yesterday, which I mean, I think a lot of people, including myself, said, I mean, Clemson's definitely on upset alert for sure. And obviously, Boston College covered that ridiculous 15-point spread, which no shocker there. But yeah, I mean, again, I think one of the biggest things I know, I saw it a couple different times on Twitter, was how impressive Leary was. Just again, from a confidence perspective, he seemed very in control the entire game, even though maybe it wasn't always clicking per se. Like again, he was just making throws. He just always seemed to be in check, which is always a great thing to have for any starting quarterback in the ACC. Is a guy who's level headed, a guy who even after a play doesn't work, he can jump right in there and go back. But obviously finishing out for 251 yards, throwing 22 of 36 for 2 touchdowns. I mean, because I'm telling you, I mean, for Leary to have 12 touchdowns so far and only 2 interceptions, that's super impressive right there. I mean, I think that is one of the more impressive lines, that probably if any ACC quarterback right now, I would say.
Absolutely, absolutely. The biggest thing for me with Devin, um, and I got to work a little bit with Devin my last couple semesters when I was working with the team still. So I know a little bit of his tendencies and all that stuff. But from week one until now, he has gotten a lot better at he's got such great arm strength. Everybody knows that. he has gotten more confident in his receivers, throwing up a 50-50 ball, saying, let my guy
Mhm.
come up and have a chance to make a play. First couple weeks of the season, he wasn't really doing that. In the past few, we've seen him doing that more, and it's
Yeah.
put us in successful situations.
Yeah. Yeah, no, absolutely. Again, I mean, hey, he's found ways to make plays. I mean, obviously, I think the biggest highlight was the deep pass to Emeka Amizi, where he was basically throwing basically on the run to the right and threw it across his body. I think it was 50 yards to Emeka Amizi in the first quarter to get us to 10-yard line. I mean, again, I mean, for him to throw the ball 50 yards on the run across his body like that with, pretty darn good precision, basically giving Emeka a chance to make a play. Because I think especially with guys like Devin Carter and Emeka and Mezzi, you just give them a chance to make a play, and they're probably going to make a play most of the time. And there was a couple of different times yesterday that happened, but I think that was the most impressive one per se. So, I mean, any other plays from yesterday's game, Bobby, that really kind of stood out to you specifically?
There was a couple big time catches. Again, I just talk about giving your receivers a chance to make a play. One was on the near sideline, like on our sideline. Um, what I can't remember if it was if it set up the field goal drive or if it wasn't the one that set up the touchdown. Um, Again, just trust Devin, throw it up there. He had an undersized corner on him. He went up and got it. Great
Mm-hmm.
catch. Second half, did the same thing on the opposite sideline, and that one did set up a touchdown.
Yep.
Uh, Trust your guys. Devin's a huge target. You got to take some chances, and I like seeing that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I see Rusty there pointing out, about how many weapons we have. And I mean, again, there's that was something that was easily said throughout the entire offseason was how impressive and how deep this offense was. And the fact that I mean, literally, we haven't even had to use Jordan Houston yet. Which I mean, I know that for me, there's a lot of question about that because it is kind of shocking to me. And honestly, I wouldn't blame Jordan one bit if he decided to, transfer, which I mean, I get, but I think that it says a lot and it says good things that he hasn't transferred yet. Because I mean, look at Clemson, their second string running back got beat out by Shipley, and he immediately jumped in the transfer portal. And Jordan could probably do the same thing, but for him to stick around, I think tells me that either his hope is that basically probably Bam will go to the draft this season, and then Jordan can jump in and kind of take over, or but I mean, but even I think there was about 10 or 11 different receivers who caught a pass yesterday. And again, I mean, it was so spread out. I mean, you had Thayer Thomas with 5 catches, Emeka with 4, Devin with 3, Chris Howell with 2, Porter Rooks with 2, C.J. Riley with 2. I mean, there's 12 different ways that the ball can go any play, which is super helpful, as you go throughout the ACC season to not be so one dimensional. Like you could say UNC is right now, and I think I've said that since game one about how one
Yep.
dimensional UNC is it is Sam Howell to Josh Downs. That's it. That's their entire
Yep.
offense. So I think that might be a difference maker.
Absolutely. I could get on that Carolina topic, but I'm not going to because. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean we're young for the most part on the offensive side of the ball. Like you have the veteran guys like Emeka, like Thayer, or as we call Thayer, Mister Consistency. And that's
Hmm.
so great to have those two guys. And Devin's been around the program for a couple years. He's still going to have a year or two left.
Yep.
I still think guys like Keon Lassane and Julian Gray can be huge for us. Um,
Yes.
and I think their touches will only go up. As far as Jordan Houston goes, if anybody follows the 2 Man page on Twitter, I put out a tweet about that today, just a little day after reactions. I love Jordan Houston, and I'm not saying that we need to take away carries from Ricky or Bam because they're playing great ball right now.
Yeah.
But the past
That's
couple years, there have been some scenarios where we've seen Jordan in some red zone sets to give another look or third down scenarios. Man, when he gets the ball, he hits the hole so hard. He runs so hard. So yeah, I mean, it's it's an interesting dynamic. I'd like to see him a little bit more, but I mean, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
right, and I think that's kind of where you're sitting right now. If you're Dave Dorn or you're, Tim Beck, is you're like, I mean, it's kind of like you just like you said, everything's going so well. I mean, Zonafin and Ricky have both had either one or the other, or even both, have had huge games during any of the 5 games so far this season, for the most part, except for Mississippi State. But fully understand that. So, um, but yeah, and again, I mean, it's just I think with Jordan, it's a matter of time. I think obviously we haven't even seen all the pages or even half the pages, I'm sure, of Tim Peck's playbook. So don't be surprised by any means if, as we go later in the season, if we kind of need a change of pace or, something to kind of throw off the defense a little bit, maybe we'll throw Jordan in there, and because again, I mean, he offers a set of quickness and of, I guess of just like you said, hitting the hole hard that maybe a Zonif or Ricky don't really, have, in their arsenal. So,
Yep.
but one thing I wanted to talk about as well, which I wanted to go ahead and bring up before I forgot to bring it up, is so it pointed out to me when I watched the game back that at one point the commentators had said that I can't remember if it was they've heard or they've seen or they predict that there are going to be 3 NC State players drafted within the first top 30 picks. And they had mentioned Isaiah Moore, Bam, and I guess Icky. I guess it's got to be Icky because there was 3 players they mentioned. And so I wanted to kind of get your thoughts in turn, and please too, for those who are listening in or watching us on YouTube, please feel free to give me your thoughts on that. But Isaiah Moore, I get it because then he's had a special season so far. I mean, he's not been necessarily flashy per se, but he's made a lot of big plays for sure. He's been all over the field, and he's really been a great uh, tandem with Drake Thomas. But Bam, you know, I'm not 100% sold as an NFL player per se, just because, from my opinion, NFL, you either have to be, if you're short, you have to be really fast. If you're not short, then, I mean, you have to be either just an animal is just not going to get injured, or you have to be really, really big, and so I just don't see with Zonovan. I don't really know about that. But again, I mean, not to say he hasn't done great for us, but again, it's I don't know, just not 100% sure that he's gonna necessarily kill it, but in the NFL. But again, not hating him by any means. I'm just saying the NFL is a completely different beast than college football for sure. You're going against these humongous guys. You're going against the best of the best. So. And by the way, too, yeah, Pepperoni. Again, they actually didn't even mention Grant Gibson as well, which I'm kind of shocked about that as well. So yeah, definitely I'm interested because I think they have him as like the number 3 center right now in this upcoming NFL draft. So I agree on that.
Yeah, yeah. When you said that, the first one that popped in my mind is Icky. Icky's
Hmm.
a dead set first rounder.
Yeah,
I think we all know that.
yeah.
Um, yeah. If Isaiah keeps going at the trajectory he has so far
Hmm.
this year, it would not surprise me if he moved his slot to a late first round, early second round pick.
Yeah,
Um, I agree with Bam. I agree with you on Bam. And I love Bam to death.
me too.
He I think he will have a chance in the NFL.
For
And
sure.
if you get that chance, a lot of guys go with it and they boost their game and they play so much better. Um, and that wouldn't surprise me. That wouldn't surprise me if he had a very brief NFL career.
Hmm.
It wouldn't surprise me if Bam was just one of those guys who had a fantastic college career and doesn't
Hmm.
really do anything at the next level.
Yeah,
Um, he's an interesting one. In my
yeah.
opinion, he could be one of those guys that potentially could be, hey, what could another year in college ball do for him?
But I mean, do you think honestly? Because I mean, he's had a wicked start to the season so far, and I'm assuming that he stays healthy and continues on this trajectory. Do you really think? Because again, I think it really at the end of the day it comes down to from a statistical perspective, can he do much better? And I just don't really know if he could really do much better than this. I mean, I think he's had a ridiculous season so far for the most
Yeah,
part.
I agree. That's just that's another aspect of it, and we think about that for basketball more so than football, really. But the same applies here.
Yeah,
Um, if he keeps at the track he's on now,
yeah,
I think it would be in his best interest to go.
yeah.
Um,
I agree.
but if we, which he's done better the past couple weeks, but we had that little stretch, Mississippi State, and in the Furman game, he put the ball on the ground some. That's gotten
Yeah,
better. But if those issues pop back up,
yeah.
we'll just have to see.
Now, do you think at all? And I truly think this as well that a lot of it really depends on what do we do for the rest of the season. Meaning, if we win an ACC championship, I wouldn't be surprised a lot of guys go. I get it. Hey, go out on top. That's
Yeah,
the goal that this team has set, these players, this program, this coaching staff has set. And so for you to basically go out saying, "Hey, we achieved this. We're good." Then I achieved all I wanted to. Then perfect. I completely understand. But I think that if we get close, which I mean, right now, I would say that I mean, it's pretty much ours to lose right now. That if we blow it or lose in the championship game or something like that, I see somebody like maybe like a Zonovan Knight, coming back and saying, listen, we're going to win it all next season, something like that. But yeah, I mean, so I mean, would you agree with that kind of synopsis? That really just kind of depends on how the season turns out for as a team perspective.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely do. And I know there was a couple guys that were like that last year, heading back this year, like Thayer, Emeka, even
Hmm.
Grant per se was like that coming into this year.
Yeah.
And to make a state comparison here, that's very, very fresh, was state baseball this year. I mean, makes that College World Series run. We won't talk about what happened there, but still, you make that College World Series run. We have a large majority of our guys leave. Johnny Butler is a perfect example for Bam because Johnny, just like Bam is looking right now, his numbers could not get any better.
Hmm. Yeah,
So,
that's true.
but yeah, I absolutely agree. If we have a great season, it wouldn't surprise me, and I
Sure.
would completely understand if some guys left. If we come up a little short, which I mean it's a long season, I definitely think some guys will be hungry and want to come back.
Yeah, we'll see. But again, hey, we'll take it one game at a time here. But one guy which I want to talk about though, which is a guy that I know that they have said is going this they kind of look at as a starter, and that's Porter Rooks. And that's a guy that for me, whenever I've watched every single game, and that is a guy when I see him get the ball, I look at him as an electric player. I mean, I think that guy has talent, and I think he's going to be a big player for us. And especially looking at next season and seeing, basically Devin Carter, Porter Rooks, and probably like Thayer Thomas, being our main three. I mean, that's still going to be like right now we have probably one of the best, trios wide receivers in the ACC, and I mean, I think that just adding in Porter Rooks in replacement of Emeka Emezi, will be. I mean, that's still going to be a top end wide receiving trio for sure. But what are your thoughts on kind of Porter Rooks's kind of usage so far? Because I mean, even yesterday he only had 2 catches for 15 yards, so not much. But again, it wasn't really a big day for pretty much any wide receiver. So I mean, uh, I'm just kind of waiting for that breakoff game. You know what I mean? That breakout
Yeah,
game. So that's kind of what
yeah.
I'm looking for.
Uh, I think most people in this chat already realize this, but in case you don't, Porter is really, really fast.
Yes.
Something that, and I like the mindset we have with him. I like that we're trying to incorporate him some, but
Hmm.
still, I'm just waiting because I think Porter is our best option for a big home run play, and we haven't really hit him on that yet.
We
I
haven't
am
hit
still
much of any
waiting for that.
really, yeah. Yeah.
No, yeah, I am still waiting for that to happen because I think if we get that one home run play, that'll really spark him. So it's still
Mhm.
kind of it's like the engine's running, but you're not running full steam yet. Like if we get a little
Right.
oil change, we hit him on a home run ball. I think that could really break him loose.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and again, it's a matter of time. I think that really, it's kind of one of those things. At the end of the day, we still got, we're only a third of the way through the season. We still got a lot of football left, and I think there will come times, obviously, where maybe defenses key in on Devin and Emeka, and then it's time for Porter Rooks or Thayer Thomas to really start to kind of light it up a little bit there. But one thing which I wanted to mention that was kind of a big happy moment for me yesterday was seeing CJ Riley score a touchdown. I think for me that was the biggest, like, just like warm and fuzzy, inside that I had, just because CJ Riley, he's a guy that just coming out of high school was a guy that I think everybody saw the potential there, being that he's what 6'3", 6'4". He's running 4.340, super fast, super tall, and just unfortunately just been plagued by injuries, just cannot stay healthy. And like, because you look at 2019, or no, not 2019, 2018 against Texas A&M in the Gator Bowl, and he had that one ridiculous catch, and you go, wow, that guy can be a playmaker. And so not necessarily saying by any means that like okay, this guy is going to be the real deal this season, but at least for him to finally just have that moment, to catch that touchdown after all that he's been through. No matter what he does for the rest of the season, for him to at least have that for me was great. But again, it's not like I'm saying here that okay, that's it. Like he's done. Have a good day. Like I still think that he could be a big player for us. I'm just saying that I'm glad he at least finally got on the scene. After not doing much last year, and then 2019 was injured all pretty much the entire year. So that was kind of the biggest, kind of happiest moment for me yesterday for sure. If you had to ask me.
Absolutely. I'm glad you said that because I was actually planning on bringing that up if you didn't. Um,
Yeah.
CJ, I know CJ. Whenever I was working for the team, he was there.
Yep.
And I've had a million classes with him when I was still in school. CJ's a great guy. I was so happy for him. He deserves it. And even if hopefully it's not, but even if that is the only touchdown pass that he catches for the rest of the year, he is such a big presence in the locker room,
Yes, he
veteran
is.
presence. So he's gonna make an impact whether it's seen or not.
Yep.
I want everybody to know that. But yeah, absolutely. I'm
Yep.
super happy for him. He
Yep.
deserves that.
Yep. So, kind of going into some of the comments here. So, Russell wanted to point out that the Deeks are very solid this year. Yes, they are. There's no doubt that they're very. Again, I wouldn't say necessarily that they're when I watch them that I'm like, whoa, like that is an amazing team. But I'm saying that that is a solid team. They are a fundamentally sound team. They will not beat themselves. At the end of the day, if you give them opportunity to take advantage, they will take advantage. So that's why I mean, looking ahead at if looking little bit ahead to that game, but I mean, I think the biggest thing for that game at the end of the day is not shooting yourself in the foot. Which that's one thing I wanted to point out, which was a big happiness for me yesterday, was having no interceptions, no fumbles yesterday. I think that was great to see, because I think that's a huge thing if going forward, if we can continue to do so, again, limit turnovers. That I think pretty much every single game, as long as we don't shoot ourselves in the foot, that as long as we play our ball, we're going to win pretty much, most of these games that we have in front of us. 'Cause I think talent wise, I think depth wise, and just as a team wise, we're better than most of the teams that we're going to be facing. But it's just a matter of can we play like we're supposed to? Because
Yep.
I know that that was kind of one of the big things yesterday. Yeah, I mean, yesterday we didn't play like we were supposed to. And I love Dave Doran's comment, at the end of the first half where, he told us to stay like, yeah, we're not playing how we should right now, man. I'm going to go get on them or, whatever right now. Like, I don't remember exact wordage he used, but, just to kind of see him be like, yeah, like, this is ridiculous. I'm going to go like figure out what the heck's going on right now. Like, that was a great thing to see. Yeah. So I mean, Bobby, I mean, would you kind of agree with my synopsis of Wake Forest so far,
Yeah, absolutely. I think Dave Clawson is a really good coach.
dude?
Um,
Hashtag hire Dave Clawson. Why is he still at Wake Forest? I'm going to mention that every single time I can because why the heck is he at Wake Forest? All these coaching
that's
changes. How are you not looking at this guy? How? So anyway,
that,
sorry. Go ahead.
that's what I'm saying.
Go ahead.
Obviously, again, state fan itis, if you will. That weight game, especially being in Winston's, always a little, in the back of your head. Um,
Mm-mm-mm.
I I think their offense is really good. From when I've watched them, which has been quite a bit this
Yeah.
year. Their defense is susceptible. I think
Yeah.
there are opportunities for us to put up some points there.
Yep.
Our defense, they're going to have their hands full. Sam Hartman is playing to the level that they thought he could coming out of
Yep.
high school.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, I think we're more talented, but they're not gonna beat themselves.
Exactly. Exactly. And then that's what I mean is that by no means am I saying in any way, shape, or form that Sam Hartman is not playing great ball. He's playing really well right now. I'm just
Yep.
saying that if our defense plays as well as they should play, that we should be able to handle Wake Forest. That's what I'm
Yep.
saying. It's not going to be like De'Ara King last year, where it's like our defense can play a solid game, but yet De'Ara King is just going to find a way to just beat us anyway, score points on us anyway.
Yep.
Um, so kind of moving on. So Gamgee 8 said, I think we have a shot, but we got to play at least two very good teams on the road, and that might be tough. And Wake and Boston College. So I wanted to bring up the Boston College game because I know obviously we have a bye week here coming up, but I mean we got to talk about Boston College. So the first thing I did want to say is, I mean, first of all, what a back-breaking loss yesterday to Clemson. I mean, I don't think from watching that game there is zero doubt in my mind, zero doubt that Boston College should have won that game. And actually, when I watch that game, I see our game basically playing in fashion where I because during when State played Clemson. I just kept saying to myself, we should win this game. We are the better team. We are playing like the better team. There's no doubt we should win this game. And thank goodness we found a way to win that game. But Boston College, they were the better team. They should have won that game. And they, for a lack of better words, they blew it. I mean, they had an opportunity. They drove all the way down the field without even getting stopped. I mean, and going all the way to I think like the 10, 11 yard line, first down with like 50 seconds left. I mean, you have plenty of time to do 4 plays and to fumble like that. I mean, what a backbreaker. So I mean, uh, I definitely think that first of all, for Jeff Hafley to have a team that competes as hard as Boston College does, even with a backup quarterback. Because I mean, for me, if they had Phil Dracovic, I'm looking at Boston College going, man, I'm nervous for that game. Not to say I'm still not nervous, but I'm just saying that um, I guess Phil Dracovic, he was a talent. That guy was, could easily, go into the NFL draft and be looking for a spot somewhere. That's my opinion. So for him to go out, was definitely hurting for me because it's kind of like, if you're going to beat somebody, beat them at their best. Now don't beat them with one hand behind their back. So, but hey, at the end of the day, a win's a win. So, if we can go and find a way to win, that'll be a huge win for NC State for sure to build off of what we have so far.
Absolutely. Last year, Boston College kind of exceeded expectations. Were better than pretty much everybody thought they were going to be,
Oh
and they
yeah,
didn't really lose anybody. And
yeah,
so coming into this season, I was pretty high on BC. I said this is not going to be your classic walk in the park against Boston College like it's been in years past.
no,
Um, them losing Dracovic, man, that's a huge blow to that team.
it is.
Um, and
Mm-hmm.
you're right; they should have won that game.
Should
Two
have.
botched snaps in the fourth quarter, one that ended up costing them the game before Clemson ended up taking a knee and running the clock out.
Yep,
Um, I think BC's defense is good. I
yep,
think that's going to be Clemson's defense hadn't allowed a touchdown all year when we played them, so those two defenses are probably going to be the best we'll see this year.
yep.
Um, from our perspective, now that we're in the driver's seat in the Atlantic, it's good that BC has a loss. We go in there, we
Right.
win that game, nails in their coffin, they're done, and that's
Yep,
just another one out of the way.
yep,
Um, Chestnut Hill, though, we've gone up there and haven't played well historically. There have been times we have played well,
yep.
so we really need to take advantage of this bye week. They have a bye week this week as well.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, because let's put it this way: in terms of what you would expect Boston College in 2 weeks, I mean, I would say, let's put it this way: I would be super impressed if Boston College plays us and plays us tough. And why I say that is because I mean, at the end of the day, most of the times, and statistically, most teams who lose to Clemson the game after struggle tremendously, and especially with a loss like that could really, like just it can really eat at you, and it takes a really mature team and a really strong team and a great leadership team to fight their way out of it and say, let's move on. At the end of the day, we lost that game. It's over with. Now we're moving on. I mean, look at us in 2016, when we lost to Clemson, which we could talk about now because just like Dave
Yeah,
Owen said, the curse is broken. And then after that game, we lost to Boston College that we should have won. We lost to Florida State that we should have won. And I still remember to this day, Bradley Chubb yelling in the locker room, like, Clemson is over. Like it is over. Like just basically saying, like, why are we letting that game still beat us? So, I mean, let's put it this way: if I see a Boston College team that you can see is not hungover from Clemson, hats off immediately to Jeff Hafley and that team. I mean, for after only 2 seasons or a year and a half of Jeff Hafley, for a team like that to fight back from a loss like they had yesterday, hats off to them. I mean, I'll just go ahead and say that right now. Respect, you got to give respect where it is, and so that's the first thing. I mean, I want to say. I mean, would you kind of agree with that? That I mean, that would be, it wouldn't be surprising by any means if they come off and this seems like they're not clicking per se. Like maybe Clemson's
right.
maybe affect them a little bit.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we suffered from that this past week. We were able to pull it out, but we definitely weren't playing our best football
Yeah,
yesterday.
right.
Um, and that happens with any team coming off a big win, whoever it may be.
Yeah,
Um, I do think it helps them that they do have a bye week. So
sure.
I still think it's definitely a possibility. I don't think it would be as extreme per se.
Yeah, no.
Um, that team worries me, man.
Yeah.
I like
Oh yeah.
their defense a lot.
Yeah. Oh, I think like for yesterday on College Game Day for them to talk about the ACC contenders and only mention Clemson and Wake Forest. I mean, from an NC State
Respect.
perspective, I'm saying, okay, fine. I don't want to be talked about. That's okay. Like we don't want to be talked about. But for Boston College to not be talked about, and especially with what Jeff Hafley done is within his first year and a half, we're saying. I mean, I don't know how that's not super impressive. And honestly, if I'm Boston College right now, I mean, how does Jeff Hafley not get taken somewhere? I mean, I like go somewhere. I mean, because Boston College, they have the tradition, but let's be honest. I mean, they don't spend a whole lot of money with it. They're private school, so I mean, they don't spend a lot of money there. They don't have a huge alumni base or anything like that. They don't have a huge local support. So I mean, I just that's kind of something that's going in the back of my head. But yeah, I mean, for that Boston College game, I think that it's going to be a huge game. I circle Boston College. I circle uh, Wake Forest, and I think all state fans are. And but talking a little bit though about the Coastal, I wanted to kind of mention this a little bit. So, is it pretty much Pitt's division to lose in your eyes, Bobby? Would you kind of agree with me on that?
Right now, it's looking like it.
Sheesh,
Absolutely.
they're dominant.
They're, from what I've seen, they, and in my opinion, it's not really close at the moment.
No,
Pitt's looked really good.
yeah. I for me, it was pretty much between Georgia Tech and Pitt made it very clear yesterday that nope, it's us. That's
Yep.
it. So, but I mean, could you imagine though, after all this preseason, and again, I really want people to comment on this because I mean, I still can't believe myself. I have to pinch myself ever so often just to think about it. But can you imagine after all this preseason hype, we're sitting here 5 games in, and UNC has a 0.5% chance to win the Coastal?
I
Like, I
love
mean,
it.
per FPI, like that's
I
it's
love
insane.
it.
I love it. It's insane. Like it's so funny, and I because like watching that Duke game yesterday. First of all, again, I mean, and again, I know we won't talk too much here about UNC. Then this is NC State, but I mean, dude, I mean, how I don't know how many more beatings that Sam Howell can take in terms of hits before. I mean, he loses it, man. I mean, dude, like that guy's gotten absolutely beat down in the backfield. But and again, Duke is again Cutcliffe. I love Cutcliffe. I just don't really see how much longer he can go. I mean, God, the poor guy. So but we'll see. But yeah, I mean, Virginia Tech's going to be a good team. I'm not as sold on them as I am Pitt. I think Pitt looks really good so far. Virginia Tech, I'm not sold on them. I've seen some good. I've seen some bad. I mean, look at the Richmond game last week. I mean, they made Richmond look like they belong in the ACC, which we all know, Richmond is not. So, I mean, for Virginia Tech only scored 13 points on Richmond. It was like, wow, okay. So don't understand that, um, but yeah, I mean, for me, it's pretty much either Boston College, Wake, NC State versus Pitt in the ACC championship game. Like that, that would be my prediction right now. But it'll be a
Yeah.
fun season. It'll be a fun season. Hey, you get to see some new blood this season. No matter what,
Yeah.
you're more likely not going to see Clemson, which is still shocking to me how much of a favorite Clemson is to win the ACC right now per betting lines right now. Clemson's still a very much heavy favorite to win the ACC, which I don't understand. But you know,
They're behind the 8 ball, and that just shows that people don't trust us.
yeah.
Um, I,
Which
I
okay,
love it.
that's a,
Let's go out
let's
there. Let's win
let's
ball games.
let's prove it wrong. Exactly. That's exactly. So so kind of talking a little bit more. About the comments here. I want to make sure we don't miss any of them. Russell said, lots of folks don't understand our pass defense. Many say we give too much of a cushion and give up too many yards, 8 or 9 yard passes. What is our take on this? Well, first of all, I want to say I've seen, because I know I was football manager, Bobby, you were a football manager as well.
Yep.
I was around during the very early days, and again, I love, Dave Huxtable as a person. I love him, overall as a coach. I think he was a great guy, and he was a great mentor for young kids. And, even George Barlow and, was a great coach. But I mean, to look at our secondary and especially specifically our cornerbacks now compared to what they were at the beginning stages of Dorn, it's not even close, dude. I mean, like I can't even understand the frustration of how many games and early in Doran's career where offense would just run like 7 yard curls or 6 yard out or 5 yard outs and just kill us all day. Just go down the field because we're literally giving 10 to 15 yards off the ball and just trying not to get beat deep. And I think a lot of it really comes down to I think that the talent we have at the cornerback position is a lot better now. And again, no hating on whatsoever on Jack Tocho and Mike Stevens and all those guys at the beginning stages, but uh, for me, I think that if you want to talk about cushion, this is not cushion compared to what we did give. It's night and day, in my
Absolutely.
opinion.
I completely agree. Um, it early stages of Doran, and like you were saying with Coach Barlow, it bothered me a lot more. And part of that was because we weren't as talented at the corner positions in the secondary as we are now, and we
Yep.
would still get burnt.
Yep.
And that's part of it. What was still so frustrating.
Yep.
Now, I like our talent that we got there. We're still leaving some cushion, yeah, but our guys can make some plays. The only time now that it really still annoys me, frustrates me, which we haven't done it as much. We've still done it several times this year. Is you'll have a third and short, a third and 3, third and 4, and our receivers will be or corner, excuse me, will be playing 8 yards off. In
Yep.
those kind of scenarios, it frustrates me. If it's medium or long yardages, it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really bother me because I know our guys are talented enough to still make a play.
Yep. Yeah. No, absolutely. So yeah, I mean, definitely Russell. I mean, again, if anybody talks to you about cushion, I mean, obviously they just either don't remember or didn't really pay attention or whatever to the early stages. But I mean, the amount of people, including myself, that would literally ask the cornerbacks, going like, why is it that when the ball is in the air for literally 15 seconds and the receiver is looking back, like I mean, it's obvious as day that the ball is coming. How are you not turning your head just to see where the ball is, and just but instead just
Yep.
keeping your head at the wide receiver and putting your hand up. It's like, so again, it's not even close. But again, I don't really know if that's necessarily a Barlow or a Huxtable or whatever, or or a talent thing. But at the end of the day, that's not how it is now. You see a lot more press coverage. You see a lot more aggressiveness from our cornerbacks. You see a lot more challenging. I mean, it's night and day for me. And so and a lot of it could be too that I think that we also do have a lot more faith in our safeties. Jakeem Harrison and Tanner Ingle right now are just they're ballers. I mean, I think that they're kind of unsung heroes in my opinion, because I mean you don't see a lot of Tanner Ingle these days, but I mean I think a lot of it is I mean they're doing a good job blocking down for the most part down the field. That's my opinion, but it's uh, it'll be exciting to see how it goes. So make sure we don't want to miss any more of the comments. Was pulling hard for Louisville yesterday. Yeah, I mean, it's Louisville. I was actually more not necessarily pulling for Clemson, but just more of that. There's two good things. First of all, it kind of puts a huge nail in Boston College. Second of all, it makes our win look better. But it's still funny though, and I don't know if you saw that, Bobby, but for that Clemson fell out of the top 25 for the first time since 2014.
Yep.
That's that's a big stat for sure. Virginia Tech and Pitt will be good this year. Yeah, no, that's gonna be a fun game. Brad Todd saying it right now. Virginia Tech will win the Coastal. Okay, I mean we'll see. I I think a lot of Fuente's hot seat or heat coming at him right now really depends on him winning it, because I think that same thing. I think for the same thing that we're saying about Dorn in terms of he's never going to have a better situation in the division than Dorn does right now. I would say that probably Virginia Tech probably has the same situation on the coastal side. Like I mean, for Miami and UNC to be struggling as much as they are right now, um, again, by no means saying that Pitt's not doing well, but I mean, I think Virginia Tech could beat Pitt. I'm just saying right now that Pitt's playing ridiculously well ball, and unfortunately, there's nothing consistent about Virginia Tech or Justin Fuente, or any of his football teams. So we'll see. But for me, I think Bobby, you agreed as well that it's Pitt's to lose right now. So
Yeah. Brad, I hope you're right though, and I'm speaking for whoever's going to come out of the Atlantic. I think whoever's going to win the Atlantic would rather play Virginia Tech than Pitt,
yeah,
or at
yeah,
least how it's looked so far.
yeah, yeah.
Um,
Okay.
but I mean, it's the Coastal. Hey, who knows? Who knows
Who
what's going to happen?
knows? Who knows? Hey, Kenny Pickett is he's a real deal for sure. So So kind of wanted to make sure we do this. I know for every single week we've kind of done this. So I want to make sure we do this as well. So Bobby, give me a player of the game on the offense and a player of the game on the defense side.
Player of the game on the offensive and defensive side. Okay. I'm gonna start defensive.
Okay.
Um, this guy uh, has played well all year. Um, he he had the pick to steal the game. I'm gonna go Jakeem Harris defensively.
Hmm.
Um, I love his game. I love his game. He got that big pick to seal it.
Yep.
Um, he tackles well. He's smart. Uh, he showed it. He showed it last night. So I'm gonna go Jakeem Harris defensively.
Okay.
Um, offensively, I'm gonna go Ricky Person. I thought
Yep.
Ricky had great field vision. He showed his power when he trucked that dude.
Yes, he did.
Um, he took advantage of all his carries. There have been times where Ricky will get a handoff and he'll kind of hesitate, stutter step, and he didn't do that. 90, 91 yards, I believe, in a touchdown. So yeah, that's offensive Ricky Person.
Yeah, I agree. And for the sake of trying to, not necessarily picks, I mean, I would 100% agree with you that Ricky, I think that, yeah, his run was super impressive. I don't know if it was on Sports Center top 10, but definitely deserved to be there if it wasn't. Uh, but also, yeah, Jakeem Harris, especially since I think, if I'm not mistaken, it was his birthday yesterday as well. So
It was.
for him to get an interception like that on his birthday, definitely huge congrats. I'm sure that he definitely celebrated, for getting a pick and getting the turnover bone and also his birthday as well. But for the sake of kind of picking somebody else, so I'm leaning towards Devin Carter just because I mean the three catches he had were super impressive. I mean that guy, he's no Kelvin Harmon per se, but the three catches he had were Kelvin Harmon esque, where he just would kind of catch it over to you, and
Yep.
it was he was super impressive. But I'm going to give it to CJ Riley. I mean, just because again, I mean, just for him to after everything he's been through. Again, we said earlier, after everything he's been through, for him to get on the board, get the touchdown ball, and get the guys come celebrate with him. Huge hats off to him. What a warrior for this team. What a leader for this team. What a story. And so I'm going to give it to him more of not to say for that he was dominant or by any means, but just couldn't be happier for him and super happy to see him do that. So I'm going to give it to him. But on the defensive side, I'm going to give us somebody who I truly do think deserved it for his gameplay yesterday, and that's Isaiah Moore. Leading the team on the defensive side with 10 tackles, 7 solo tackles, and a sack. I mean, I think that, and he actually led the team as well in tackles and solo tackles. Again, just for a game yesterday where Drake Thomas was there, but he just wasn't necessarily as all over, maybe like necessarily as he was like against Furman. Um, I think it's great to see that, that obviously there's a lot of talks about Drake Thomas and Peyton Wilson this offseason, but for Isaiah Moore to make it very clear that, hey, I am here. I'm one of the best linebackers in the ACC. There's no doubt about it. Definitely thrilled to see that because I know that was kind of one thing as well that somebody mentioned I wanted to kind of bring up as well. I know we got, about 15 minutes left or so here, but I know we kind of had some people talking about, now with learning the news that CJ Clark is getting surgery, is going to be out. And so adding on with Peyton Wilson and Cyrus Fagan being out for the season, what are your kind of thoughts on our defensive depth, Bobby? I mean, do you think that we're kind of being tested right now with our depth, or do you still feel like we're in a good position with our depth?
Um, so we talked about this on when that was announced on our show.
Mhm.
I think uh, I'll start with Peyton first. Obviously, you lose a player of that caliber, obviously it's going to hurt you.
Sure.
With that depth at linebacker, I still trust our guys. I still think we can step up, make plays, and they know the system. I trust everybody in that linebacker room. I think
Yep.
depth there. I think we're fine. That I'm
Yep.
not worried about that.
No,
With Cyrus, man, Cyrus had looked so good in that
you did.
game and a half, game and 3/4 that he played before he got hurt.
Yep.
Um, and again, we were just talking about our secondary is more talented than it has been in years past.
Hmm.
But at the same time, it still has more question marks than any other position group on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah.
I still think they can make plays. We are thinner back there, so that one does worry me a little bit.
Sure.
Losing CJ's, I mean, that's a presence, but man, whenever he went down, Corey Durden really stepped up coming out in that Clemson game. Um, and then, but yesterday we get Terrell Dawkins back as well.
Yep.
That D line has depth too, and I'm not really as concerned about that either.
No.
It's really the if one were to impact us, I think it would be the Cyrus loss.
I agree. Yeah, and I mean, I'll kind of expand on that as well as I mean, and I know we said this on episodes past as well, but yeah, I mean, Peyton Wilson, he's a guy that I mean, there's no doubt that if he had stayed healthy, he would be an easily first round draft pick this upcoming NFL draft. And but I mean, he's a guy that unfortunately you look back in most games and he was either out with injury or he was playing but playing injured. And I
Mm-hmm.
mean, specifically, I mean, one game that I think he'll always be remembered for is playing against Georgia Tech last year with both shoulders dislocated and still playing anyway. I mean, so it's kind of like last year with Terry Ingle, where it's like he was either injured or getting ejected with for targeting. So it was like we just got used to playing without him. So same thing with kind of Peyton, which is unfortunate because we don't want it to be this way, but unfortunately with Peyton, it's like you know. Unfortunately, he just cannot stay away from injuries, which is it's terrible to say, but it's like so I would agree with you. First of all, yeah, with the defense, especially since we do a 3-3-5. I mean, I think we easily have 6, 7, 8, 9, defensive linemen that we could easily throw in there and be very happy with. I mean, especially like Davin Van. He's a guy that
Yep.
is true freshman, if I'm mistaken, and I mean
Yep.
he's looked super impressive so far. And then getting Terrell Dawkins back, Daniel Joseph has looked great so far. Savion Jackson, Josh Harris has looked solid. Corey Durden's been everything as expected, and then some. So I completely agree with you. But so I completely agree that the Cyrus Fagan loss is more of a loss actually than any of the three of them. But yeah, but I mean, I would say let's put it this way: if Jakeem Harris or Tanner Ingle go down, knock on wood, then I'll be more scared. But if like Shaheem or Derek Pitts goes down, I'm not going to say like not worried, but I feel like that our cornerback depth is enough to cover if one of them goes down. But I think from the safety wise, I'd be a little bit more worried. But we'll see. But I think so, and I'm actually confirming. But Derek Pitts had the other interception yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
That was Aiden White, wasn't it?
I think you might be right. I'll have to go back and check.
I
But
can bring
yeah,
that up. Let's see.
but so why you bring that up though? But I think one of the things which I do want to say as well is I mean obviously Derek Pitts has jumped in very nicely from the cornerback side, obviously pairing alongside with Shaheem Battle, who I think Shaheem I think is the best cornerback that we do have right now. But for Derek Pitts to come in from Marshall and really jump in immediately and fill in a hole, I think is huge for this team. And I think I wanted to kind of bring this up as well, but because I want to kind of get your thoughts on it, Bobby. I know we haven't probably talked about it. I know we've talked about it in the episode before, and I'm sure you guys probably have as well. But I wanted to hear from you directly. But do you think that now with the transfer rules the way they are, that you look at a guy like Corey Durden, who I mean has had experience playing at the Power Five level with Florida State and dominated at Florida State and was a big time recruit coming out of high school. I think he was a 4-star coming out of high school. And so to get him for, a year, I mean, I think that you would take that any day and twice on Tuesday. And the same thing with like Cyrus Fagan, Derek Pitts. So do you say now with the transfer rules the way they are, that high school recruiting is not as, I guess, a make or break as it was before the transfer rules were the way they were? Because I mean, because Doran was famous for really focusing on getting the recruits that he wants, but then going after transfers that he really needs. And I think now, especially with the way they are, he's going to do that probably even more and then some. Just get the guys he wants from recruiting, but then go after the guys he needs on the transfer market. Would you agree on that?
Yeah, yeah, I do. I looked. It was Aiden White, by the way,
Okay,
who had the pick.
nice, good for
Yeah,
him.
I mean, I agree. And especially, obviously, you hate to see injuries at all, but I mean, Cyrus getting hurt potentially could be a good thing. We could get another extra year of Cyrus because of that.
Yep.
Um, Again, injuries are never a good thing, but you get what I'm trying
No,
to say.
yeah,
But
yeah.
yeah, I mean, 4 years ago, even 3 years ago, uh,
Mhm.
the recruiting was still the lifeblood of college football. And it will continue to be. You don't want to have slouches in there and then try to rely solely on getting transfers. But the transfer portal is such a what's the word I'm looking for here? Can be so beneficial if you're using it the right way. Um, every coach is going to need or know what they're going to need, and I think Coach Dorn's done a good job of that. He knew the areas what needed some veteran leadership, and
Yep.
we went out and got that.
Yep.
Something that's overlooked by some people, for Corey Durden and Cyrus Fagan especially, is they aren't your regular transfers. They're playing in the same division that they were. They've
Yep.
played against these teams we're playing
Yep.
multiple times. That's
Yep.
huge.
Yeah. Completely agree. Completely agree. So I mean, it's one of those things that it's especially from the NCAA wise that I mean, I'm actually surprised ever it's actually even gotten to this point just because you mean you kind of look back about how transfer rules used to be where like if you transferred, you couldn't transfer to any school that your former school would ever play against, and you can't transfer in conference. So it was like pretty much a limited list on who you could actually transfer to. But now you can actually just even transfer within your division and play immediately. Like that's it's still crazy to think about where we are in terms of NCAA football. So really about it, one thing I wanted to kind of talk about as well. So I know that we did a predictions video for the rest of the season, and both Make and I both had us going as 8-4 conservatively. So now looking at how the NC State and has gone, being 4-1 with a win over Clemson, and also looking at how the ACC is right now. I think like FPI, they actually only have us losing barely to Miami, actually, which is
Mm-hmm.
kind of a shocker. So that basically FBI has us going 10-2. So what would you say? Like, what was your record prediction before the season started, and where would you say that your prediction would be now for the rest of the season?
My preseason on our show was 9-3,
Okay.
um, and right now, again, conservatively, I think I'm going to stick with 9-3 because I don't want
Yeah.
to get my expectations too high.
Yeah.
I do think at this point where we are right now, 8-4. If we finished 8-4, that would be a disappointment.
Very much so.
Um,
Very much so.
um, I
3 games,
I
losing 3 more games out of our
yeah,
next 8 games. I don't know. No.
I absolutely think 10-2. I think we can win every game that's left on our schedule.
Yeah.
Um, but it's college football. You always have to throw some external factors in there. Um, I think 10-2 is absolutely possible.
Yes.
Um, but I'm going to stick with my 9-3.
Yeah.
That definitely could change after the Boston College game.
Yes, very much so. I I think that will be such a huge confidence builder if we go into that game and beat a very good team in Boston College at Boston College. That would be a very big game because as one thing which I said as well, and I know that there's a lot of people that are mentioning it, is that if we can go first of all, if we go into Wake Forest, I think we play them our ninth game or something like that, ninth or 10th game, something
It's
like that,
early
give or take.
November, I believe,
Okay, so let's
something like
say
that.
let's say eighth or ninth game. So let's say we go into that game 7-1, 6-1, something like that. Wake Forest probably maybe will be 7-0, 8-0, give or take, something like that. First of all, I mean, by then, if those are the records of both these teams, we're both probably in the top 15 by then, probably, give or take.
Probably, yeah.
And so, I mean, college game day, don't be surprised if that's college game day. I think that would be a very enticing matchup for college game day to come cover. But I think that the two things that which are will go in our favor for that game. First of all, and I'll kind of say the one that's not really as exciting, and then the one that I'm more excited about. So the one that's kind of not as excited about is more just that I think for NC State wise, if we go into that game 6-1, state fans will show up in the packs. It'll be absolutely crazy red. And at the end of the day, Wake Forest can bring all the fans they have. And at the end of the day, NC State has all the following and then some to absolutely pack that place out. And because I mean,
Yep.
if we beat Boston College, if we beat Wake Forest, we're going to the ACC championship. I think that's pretty much what solidify it. I mean, unless we just absolutely just like blow all 4 of our tires throughout the rest of the season, you know what I mean? But but then the second thing is that I think Emeka Emezi, he is going to have an absolute huge game. I called it before the season started. I circled that game and going 4 years ago, almost close to that date. He had what a lot of people called whether you call it a bonehead play or a unfortunate play, but then you saw the emotion in his eyes of how hard he took that play, where he fumbled at the goal line, to I wouldn't say lose the game, because at the end of the day that didn't lose us the game. It was just an opportunity for us to take the lead, and unfortunately, it didn't happen. So I think that you see an opportunity where he gets to go back to Winston-Salem in a big environment after he's had 4 years of experience. I absolutely see a humongous game from him, and I see there's no way that he is going to let NC State leave that field without a win. That's my thought on it. I just
Yeah,
I can't see otherwise. Like
yeah,
how would he not? I mean, he's so talented that he could easily take the game into his hand. And I think of any game that he wants to take into his hand, it is that Wake Forest game at Winston Salem. I don't see anything otherwise. There's no way that he's going to
yeah,
let us lose that
yeah.
game.
I agree. Knowing Emeka too, man, that he's got it marked.
No, there's no doubt.
He definitely does. And then fast for the next year in 2018, he had a good night that night. He had that big bomb of a touchdown late in the game, and
Hmm.
I was on the sidelines for that one. A lot of other State fans like, okay, good, he got it back, and we're gonna get this one. Came up short, obviously, but
Hmm.
he's due. I agree. Whether it's a single play, whether it's an entire performance, Emeka is going to do something that day that will make his presence known.
Yeah, I agree with you on that. So, so definitely, I would definitely say as well that I'm going to put the bar still for me at 10-2. It is very hard for me to believe, but I would be absolutely thrilled if somehow, like, again, I think that we should win out. Should win out. But us knowing NC State too well is that we're gonna have one game where we fumble around a little bit and we have a loss. But I'm hoping it's like, but again, looking at the rest of the schedule, it's like, unless it's like to Boston College or Wake Forest, which I would get, but it would suck. Is that I just don't see it. So yeah, 10-2 is for sure. I think the bar for me still. But one of the last questions I wanted to ask here before we jumped off, and I wanted to kind of hear if for those who are tuning in, your comments on this as well. But where would you put that Clemson win in terms of biggest wins in, let's say, NC State? I would say a lot. Let's keep it somewhat close, because obviously in-state football history goes back a long time. So let's say since the 2000s, so over the past 21 years, where would you put that win?
Obviously, you're going to have to wait till this whole season pans out to get the firm, solid answer. But
Yeah,
this moment in time, I'm putting that at one for me, because I think the two Florida State wins, 2010 and 2012, which those were massive, but nothing really amounted from those. This one, we knew how big that was on so many different levels.
yes,
Um, I'm putting that at one right now.
yep,
Hopefully that will turn out to be big and get it to where we want to go.
yep,
I'm saying that now because of how big it was on multiple different levels, and as awesome as those Florida State games were in 2010 and 2012, it turned out to it was just an upset. It didn't amount to anything.
yeah. No, I mean, I can list. I mean, I'll just name a couple, but I can list maybe like 20 different reasons of why that win was so big. But I mean, obviously, the first couple biggest ones, obviously, just the curse itself, the 2016 curse, the fact that Clemson has been, the most dominant team in the ACC for years, and for us to actually basically break, I think it was like a 32 game ACC win streak for Clemson, was huge. But also, too, particularly for me, was Chris Dunn. For him, and again, a lot of State fans, were all like, oh my gosh, he made a field goal yesterday. But that's the Chris Dunn we know, and that's the Chris Dunn he's going to be for the rest of the season. And he had one bad game. Unfortunately, it was against a team in a game where we didn't really need him to have a game like that. But he did. But at the end of the day, for us to pull out a game like that, again, to me, shows where this team is and this program is going from a maturity basis and from a chemistry basis. And then obviously the biggest other reason for me is for Doran. I think that that win I mean, I think for me solidifies that he is our guy for a while. I mean, we're not going to let him go anytime soon. And because not necessarily saying that if we lost that game, that I'd be on the let's fire Doran train, but I'd be really questioning like okay, could he ever really get it done? Because it's never going to get any better than that game. And so for us to pull that out, it was absolutely ginormous. Just like you said, 2010, at the time, maybe after we beat Florida State, it was like, oh my God, that was the biggest win ever. But the fact that we didn't even make it to the ACC championship game hurts. And then 2012, we didn't do much for the rest of the season besides that one game. So
Yeah,
I completely agree that hopefully more likely that the way this season turns out, that'll be the biggest win of the 2000s for NC State football, but definitely the biggest win of Dave Doran's tenure by far, not even close.
absolutely. And
So
for me, that is the biggest thing because Dave knew what this meant. Man, I've gotten some slack for this from some people because I am the uh, kind of the opposite of what which and some of these people know what a lot of state fans are. They're like, oh, we don't like Doran, we don't like Doran. I'm I love Coach Doran. I really, really want him to succeed here. He gets it. He's one of
he gets
us.
it.
Uh,
He gets
I
it.
really, really like Coach Doran.
Yeah.
I'm not on the we need to get rid of him page. He's not the guy. I, I'm so happy to see that. I want Dave to be here. I want Dave to succeed. Um, he he is great for the program. He's great for the university. I want Dave to be around.
Yep. I mean, just between him showing up, AC Network at the end of last season with the box of donuts and shoving it in the ACDC Network's face, and then him smoking the cigar and with the red Solo cup after the game, and then jumping around with the fans in the middle, and basically even saying as well, like, yeah, the fans should storm the field, like like that's what college football is all about. I'm like, oh my gosh, how can you not love that guy? So I mean,
Yeah,
seriously, if there are any State fans right now that are still not sold on Doran, I really would love to know why. I just don't get it. I mean, he's now he's checked every mark. The only mark that wasn't checked was having that highlight signature win. Well, now he's got it, and no matter what Clemson does for the rest of the season, that was the game that everybody was saying, oh, DJ Uiagalelei is going to go off that game, and no, he didn't. So let's keep it at that. But well, thank you all so much again for tuning in. Please make sure, if you haven't already, please make sure to hit that subscribe button. It really helps support us in the channel. Please make sure to like this video, check out all of our great NC State content, and make sure to give us a follow at Tuffy Talk Now. And Bobby, I definitely with you as well wanted all fans to definitely go give the Two Man Wolf Eye podcast some support. They come out with great content to listen to for any big time NC State fan to tune in on. And I know for me personally that for the episodes I've been able to listen to, for sure, these guys know what they're talking about, and it's always great to hear two positive NC State fans talk such great things about NC State football. So Bobby, I'll give you a chance right now to kind of pitch in on, let people know where they could check you guys out at, and then we'll kind of wrap this up.
awesome. Well, first off, thanks for having me. I guess Anderson has been texting me this entire time. I don't know what's going on. He
It's all
really
good.
wishes he could be here. He apologizes.
Yeah,
Hopefully we can get y'all on our show sometime. But
absolutely.
anybody who I'm sure there's a few people on here who have heard our show before. For anybody who hasn't, for those who have, I really appreciate it. We thank you for all the support. For anybody who hasn't, on Instagram and Twitter, we're at Two Man Pack Pod. We're available wherever you can get your podcast. We're Spotify, SoundCloud, uh, Apple Podcasts. Those are the big three, our big three platforms. We'll be coming out with a new episode within the next couple of days, so keep an eye out for that.
Beautiful, beautiful. Yeah, thank you again, Bobby, and thank you all again for so much for tuning in. I know us as State fans, we're thrilled right now to be where we are, and so excited for what is to come for the rest of the season. So, thank you all so much. Stay safe, and as always, go Pack, everybody. We'll see you.